I'm Rachel Shatto, staff writer for MovieJawn, and I am so delighted to present my interviews for the new anti-romcom, You're Dating a Narcissist. This hilarious and heartwarming film introduces Judy. Played by Academy Award winner Marissa Tomei, Judy has made a career out of identifying narcissists and warning people how to avoid inviting them into their lives. So she is in total shock and horror when she discovers that her very own daughter, played by Sierra Bravo, has gotten engaged after a whirlwind romance. In a panic, Judy and her friend Diane, played by Sherry Cola, rush across the country to prove her future son-in-law is, yes, you guessed it, a narcissist. I had a chance to speak with filmmaker Ann Marie Allison, as well as the stars Sierra Bravo and Marco Pagosi, about the real-life inspiration behind the film, its twisted new spin on the rom-com, and the red flag you should never ignore in new relationships. So please enjoy my interviews with Ann Marie Allison, Sierra Bravo, and Marco Pagosi. So, first of all, I want to congratulate you on the film. I think it is so much fun. I love anything that explores the interiority and complicated dynamics between women, and I think that this absolutely nails it. And
Gosh,
it's
thank you
kind,
so much.
of course. Well, what's interesting about it is it's kind of an anti-rom-com. Like the beats and the tones feel very familiar, and yet it's not about finding your traditional sort of happily ever after. Talk to
Mhm.
me a little bit about, playing with these tropes and these and subverting them and using this as the framing device to tell this kind of story.
Well, that's what a wonderful question. And thank you for like zeroing in exactly. I actually would say sometimes when I was, pitching the film, it's an anti-rom-com. I would say that.
Oh,
So you just use that words, or I'd say it's a rom-com with a twist. Or sometimes I would call it a mom-com. Um,
hmm.
but yes, I mean, one of the things that I was looking at, first of all, this story is out there. I dated a narcissist. I didn't know I dated a narcissist till years later. And once I figured out through, various avenues, including a lot of therapy about what I had been through,
So,
I just felt so much more relieved and like back to myself. It felt like I had been sort of hit by a train. And so when I set out to write this movie and to make this movie, I was like, rom-coms out there are not necessarily teaching us really great patterns to look for in true love. A
yeah,
lot of times it's about somebody hiding their identity or lying or, just trying to get into somebody's bed, and things like that. And it's, and I'm a sucker for those. I absolutely love a lot of rom-coms. I don't want to like, crap on rom-coms, but I was like, that's part of the lore that gets us into these situations where we're like, oh, this person who's idealizing me is my soulmate. And this
yeah,
person who has maybe some pretty significant issues in terms of their personality or their background or what have you, I can fix them. I can
right,
fix that guy, I
right.
can fix that girl. And then you're like stuck in this loop of gaslighting and triangulation and
Uh-huh.
devaluing and all the things that happen. And you're sort of holding on for dear life because, um, 10 days about, or how to lose a guy in 10 days told you that that's what you got to do. So
Right,
I was trying to find, as a filmmaker, I was trying to create something that felt really real to me
right.
and would also speak to other people who had been through something like this. So I was using some of the tropes. I also, with my DP, my amazing DP, Martine Vienne,
Hmm.
we talked a lot about like the lighting in certain scenes where we are in the idealization, we are in the rom-com, and then moving to a much more gritty, in your face photography for certain scenes that were, kind of coming in and like crashing into the dream,
Yeah.
so those were some of the things that we did on set and with the script and things like that. We looked at those tropes and how could we kind of turn them on their head.
I love that. I mean, I think rom-coms are like our modern day fairy tales in that they have this role of telling us what idealized romance is. And so I
Hmm.
love you kind of like flipping that on its script. And I think that in this movie, kind of the love story is really about the women in our lives and how they're sort of the heroes in our lives, be they our mothers or our friends. Because I think, we see multiple generations of women kind of experiencing similar things and helping each other through them. Talk to me about why those relationships were an important part of this.
I think it's because it was my girlfriends that got me, back to who I was. At the time, I remember being on the phone with one of my best friends from graduate school, and I was actually, by the way, getting a master's in psychology when this happened to me. So, like, I'm just telling
Totally.
you, I've been there. Like, who amongst us? I no judgment. But I was crying about one other thing that happened, or some other, silent treatment, or something that had happened. And she said to me, Anne Marie, I love you. This is not who you are. This is not who you are. She's like, so I'm coming to get you, and you're going to come live with me for a few weeks and like get away from all of this. And she literally did. She came, she picked me up. I went to her house. I lived on her couch for like 3 weeks, and my brain fog started clearing. And I was like, wait a second, this isn't how you treat someone you love. It was like I
Right.
had to get away and get like the view. And here, this is the way you treat someone you love. Your best friend comes and helps you. Your best friend is there and listens to you. And so, I'm a big advocate. I love, my female friendships are very dear to me. I grew up with three brothers who I love tremendously, and they're amazing men. But it was so lovely to get away and be be with my girlfriends, whether that be playing volleyball. I played volleyball with a lot of girls, and went to school. Counseling was focused. There was a lot of women there, and then all my besties for my ride or dies that have been by my side through all of this. So I wanted to honor that, and I feel like we're starting to talk about that a lot more. I feel like, and also it just feels so right that we're premiering the film and International Women's Month.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm so delighted that you tuned into that, and it meant something to you to watch that, because that was very important to me to get across. It's like, we have our friends, and they can be our soulmates.
Yes, yes. I think the
Mhm.
greatest love stories in my lives are my girlfriends. They are
Yeah.
the people who are I have the most intimacy with and trust with and are so powerful. And so I love that this movie really centers that. It also helps that your cast is full of incredible women. That does not hurt. Like seeing Marissa Tomei and Sherry Cola on camera together was so much fun. They're
I know.
so hilarious. Tell me about the experience of working with them and how you as a director kind of guided them through this, telling the story.
Well, first of all, yes, they are the dynamic duo. I want a show with Di and Judy.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
but all of the women, Sherry Cola, Sierra Bravo, Marissa Tomei, obviously Marissa, being the powerhouse, the Oscar winner, the comedic genius.
Yes.
Um, it was amazing to watch her do what she does, and everybody around her was, just having even more fun because they were there, and to have a scene partner in a comedy like Marissa Tomei was just an absolute joy. And then with Sierra and actually all three of them, we talked a lot about their characters, the script. I took notes from them on various things, like Marissa had some really fun, little ads, and specifically about her physical comedy in the
Hmm.
film. She's like, I want you to put the camera here because I'm gonna be physical with my body. And like, absolutely, I'm gonna actually put two cameras on you because you're amazing. And so, and then to work with, Sherry's just like an improv genius, and Sierra's got such a depth to her, but so much strength. And I don't know, it's just an absolute joy to watch these three women, be together and bring and elevate the characters, from the script to the screen.
Oh, yes. I know. They have such beautiful chemistry, the three of them together. And as well as, I mean, Sierra and Marco also have really amazing chemistry, which you
Yeah.
need in order to buy into the story and to root for that love story, at least initially. So I know
Yeah.
we're at the end of our time here. It flies by so fast always,
I
but
know.
I do have one last quick question, which is even though in some ways this movie does kind of play like a cautionary tale, there is this balance of skepticism and hope about love. Talk to me about why that was also really important to you.
Because I mean, love is what the world goes, makes the world go round. Like my feeling is there's no greater feeling than connecting with someone. And I want to be in love, and I want all my friends to be in love and find love. Um I just and my heart goes out to people that have trouble connecting with people. I mean, at the end of the day, my heart goes out to those people. But you know, I feel like we as a society, the more we can connect with one another, the more compassion that we can have for one another, that is going to be our savior. And if people learn a little bit about themselves here, and I've had people come up and say, I might be a narcissist. And like, I'm like, hey, that's a first step in the right direction to just look inward and say, okay, how can I cultivate more compassion within myself? And I'm not saying like, everybody has a little bit of narcissism in them. Otherwise, we wouldn't get up and brush our hair and put makeup on and have
Sure.
a certain persona. We all can get there if we're unbalanced or dysregulated, as my therapist would say. But really searching for that compassionate place, that inner child, loving yourself and loving others. I mean, that's what life's about, is just connecting with people. So I hope that's what I was hoping for as you walk away. It's just like, you're so kind and so beautiful, and the world is you know, at your, the world is your oyster if you can put yourself out there and connect with people.
You can't tell by my face, but I'm very enthusiastic about this movie. I enjoyed it very much, and one of the reasons I enjoyed it so much is because I love the trickiness of the bait and switch. On one hand, it presents as a rom-com, but then it kind of takes you in this different path and it becomes sort of an anti-rom-com. It uses those sort of trappings of the rom-com to subvert them. I'm curious for each of you though, what was the thing when you first read this that hooked you in the story?
I mean, I think it was that exactly. It was the fact that it was like a Trojan horse almost. I'm like, oh, I love a rom-com. And I start reading it and I'm like, oh, this is so much more. These characters are so dynamic. There's so much nuance to this story. And I think the second I realized that, at its core, as much as it is about this romance, it's about a mother and daughter relationship. That's what really, really got me. I mean, I'm a sucker for those.
Ugh, me too. How about you, Marco?
Same. It's such a fresh take. It's a new take, right, on a rom-com. And it plays with, what I love about the film also is that it's really smart in that sense. And it knows it's playing with that, right? You're
Mhm.
playing with the rom-com stereotype and showing what really is. So it's a very interesting new take. And in a rom-com, they're both always good, right? And we get to play with something else here.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I mean, in order for that to work, in order for the audience to go on the journey that is being set out by the film, you have to believe and root for the couple initially. And I think that, I certainly rooted for your characters until things, maybe get a little more complicated without getting into spoilers. I'm curious, building that kind of chemistry. When you think back to the first day, the first film you shot together, was it like an instant click or was it something that you worked on together to create that kind of chemistry?
I one thing you're not blessed with in independent filmmaking is time. So I feel very lucky that Marco is a very talented actor and more so an incredibly kind person. So I felt safe with him. The second we started rolling, it was easy to drop into these characters and drop into that, that love and that admiration that Eva has for Theo.
Same for me. It was a gift having Sierra there. It was like I got into the project much later. We're very close to shooting. I got on set. We met on set. So I'm like, "Ugh." And first scene, Sarah's just there, existing, full on character, full on actress, and I was like, yes, she gave me everything I needed. I was just living and reacting to whatever she was giving. I was really, really blessed.
Ugh, I love that. Well, you also got to work with two incredible comedians in the form of Marissa Tomei and Sherry Cola. Tell me about the energy on set. Tell me what it was like to work with them. Do you have a favorite memory?
Marissa Tomei is a powerhouse. I mean, she steps on set and it's like, yes, she's running the show and we are headed in a good direction. Sherry, I think, is one of the warmest people I've ever met in my entire life, and she is hilarious. Like, she's the kind of person where you have one conversation with her and you feel like you've known her your entire life and you just feel so safe to make these big choices, and she's cracking you up, and she's just like both women could not be more impressive. And I think the two of them together, I said this previously, but it's like having two giant spotlights on and just illuminating the room, and you're glowing because you're around them. They make everyone, brighter.
Ugh, I love that. How about you, Marco? Do you have a favorite memory of working with them or a moment
So
that stands
true.
out?
I have so many memories. I mean, it's just, around Sherry was very hard not to laugh
Hmm.
at everything she's doing. She's so natural. She's naturally funny. And when she's on scene, it's just very, I mean, it's very hard because it's hilarious. Everything she does is hilarious. And I had some scenes with her that was like specifically funny. So it
Mhm.
made it even hard. And Marissa, that's what Sarah says. She brings it. You just follow along. You know that she's making the choices and you just go with it. She's giving you everything you need. You just have to be present and play along. She's fantastic. So yeah, we were very blessed. It was a beautiful group of people and very
But
talented.
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. So, what do you say we end on like a funny, sort of lighthearted question? Because I do feel like watching this, I got this crash course on narcissism, red flags, gaslighting, triangulation. I learned so much. So, here's my question for each of you. What is a red flag that people always ignore but shouldn't?
Ooh, always ignore but shouldn't. That's a great one. Because for me, I feel like there's so many red flags that we don't ignore. But I don't know, Marco, is there one that pops to the top of your head?
Thing that we ignore because they're the classic ones. I think something that I don't know, something I think the relationship with the other significant parents.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
Like the
Because you're like,
daughter.
it won't really play that much of a role in our lives.
Yeah, I think you learn a lot from watching their relationship.
Oh, that's a fantastic answer. All I can think about is like someone who maybe doesn't listen. Like, because you know how sometimes someone's dismissive of your feelings, but not in a way that's obviously dismissive. And then you're like, am I being crazy? And then you're like, I'm trying being crazy. Like, I'm asking too much. I'm being high maintenance. And it's like, no, girl, you feel that way for a reason. So I think maybe someone who's dismissive.
I think those are both excellent answers, and I'm adding them to my red flags list. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. This is so much fun. I know you can't see it, but I have a huge smile on my face because you guys
We
are
can feel it,
wonderful.
Rachel.
Good, good, good.